There's so much information now, right? But I don't feel like much of that information is shared in health.
Oh, in a full year, and that lets you save. Who cares?
Welcome to a brand new edition of Ageless Energy, where we talk about how to burn fat, increase energy, and balance hormones for women over 40. Over the past 20 years as a performance coach, I've worked with hundreds of women that have the exact same struggles you do. I hope to shine some light with this podcast on what can be the most challenging time of your life and let you know there is hope to find success with your health and what you're looking for. Please share and enjoy. Today we're talking about iron deficiency. Do you have low iron levels? So this is going to be hopefully an eye-opening topic. This is the number one mineral that we are deficient in, and it causes an entire laundry list of health issues are concerned. So I know that a lot of people are dealing with low iron, or they think they are, and I'm going to shine some light on supplementation, proper foods, my suggestions, and hopefully you enjoy. Hopefully you get something to take away that may or may not be of interest to you. So I was digging deep this last week, and I was doing a lot of research, and it was eye-opening. So I'm going to share with you the research that I found. I'll put my perspective on it, and then I'll share with you our experience with iron in particular. But it's definitely an interesting subject because here, look, I'm going to read this to you, and here's the thing. When I do research, I do hours of research, and it's not one website or three websites. It's hours of, and here, it's such a troubling world we live in. There's so much information now, right? But I don't feel like much of that information is shared in health, right? Whoever's sharing that information has some reasoning to share their perspective. So I'll share most of mine. But I encourage you to go and do your own research, be your own health advocate, keep learning, keep researching, keep reading. Don't just take one person's perspective. Often I'll hear from someone and they'll say, "Oh, I don't do this because," and I'm like, "Well, where did you get that because from?" Or because of so-and-so. And that was one person's perspective. And often that person had nothing to do. Like they had no experience, research, knowledge. It was just their opinion. And I feel like we need to take control of our own health and do that deep digging. And I guess that's why you guys are here. But hopefully there's more. Like hopefully you'll do more on your own and not just, even myself, like don't just take my opinion, take multiple opinions and then use your own experience. So my point here is that when I was looking through websites, almost all of them said the same thing. And I don't know, it's like, I always wonder where this comes from. Did one person, who wrote this? And then why is so many very similar? And here's one of the biggest concerns is these long lists, like this long, I call it a laundry list of symptoms, is that could be many other things, right? And the problem is that they don't really know. Like you go to a doctor and they're this could be a number of other mineral shortages, or I would call them more lifestyle deficiencies. So you're looking at extreme fatigue, weakness, pale skin, shortness of breath. This one's interesting, cold hands and feet because of circulation. I feel like there could be other avenues for that as well. Brittle nails, poor appetite, unusual cravings. Right, so that's very generalized and very basic. And again, the problem is that you go ahead and you do some research, and the first entire page of Google is the same. And I would encourage you to even use different search engines. Like I like to use Brave. I feel like it's a bit more accurate when it comes to information that may or may not want to be shared. So we need iron, we need proper iron levels, and that's nothing to be contested. But then you look at the other end of the pendulum and too high iron levels, which is very few individuals. or a very small percentage is toxic, right? So we have to find a way to increase our iron levels in a healthier manner. And this is, to me, is why it's so important to look at your lifestyle. And I'll talk about supplementation briefly here, but we have to look at our lifestyle as a whole and what are the things that we're doing to improve our health, to increase our iron levels. It's not just iron levels though, right? How are you increasing your magnesium levels? How are you exercising or moving your body? What are you doing for mental clarity? What are you doing to reduce stress? So I know I want to spend more time on specifically on iron, but I feel like it's super important to understand in a holistic manner that one thing isn't going to change your life. Like we just went through most of the symptoms when it comes to low iron. So it's really easy for someone to say, oh, I have no energy, I'm low in iron. But it's not like you can't just look at iron, right? You have to look at your lifestyle of like you're low in energy. Okay, what types of foods are you putting in your body? Are you exercising throughout the day? What are you putting in your body that's stripping, like refined sugar, processed food, that's stripping that energy from your body, right? So there's a lot of different avenues here. And I feel like they're all connected. It's not just one, like, oh, it's one thing that I'm missing or it's one thing that I'm deficient in. Usually it's a number of things that all add up. I'm going to talk about absorbability. I'm going to talk about vitamin C. I'm going to talk about better quality sources of iron. So I got a lot to share with you. I just feel like it's worth mentioning that if you're just looking at iron, you're like, I just need iron, you're probably not going to find the answer that you're looking for. So when we look at the absorbability, when it comes to iron, we need good quality sources of iron. So I talk about a number of different topics, as many of you know. And if we're looking at different topics, they're all based around how your body utilizes nutrients or minerals or pills, supplements, pharmaceuticals, however you want to spin it. Your body has to absorb whatever you're putting in. And if your body's not absorbing it, in many cases because it's low quality, very small percentage because your body is rejecting that. But I feel like there's a lot of different avenues you can go down before you look at your body's just not able to absorb in different ways or different nutrients, minerals, etc. So we have to look at quality, and that's why for us, when we look at supplementation, it has to be the best quality, it has to be the cleanest ingredients. And many times people go to the dollar store and they get a supplement and they're like, doesn't work. And I'm like, doesn't work for anyone. It's garbage. So when you're looking at absorbability, you have to find good quality. So I want to mention that because iron supplements come up a lot, and I'm not telling you not to take them. My concern is that they are low. Many of them are low quality, and then you have to look at additives, fillers, preservatives, which is very apparent in most supplements. But my biggest concern when it comes to iron is that I feel like it may be overprescribed. Because of these symptoms, which is an overview of anything, like, great, I have weakness. I'm very tired. Sometimes my hands and feet are cold. Did you put socks on? Like, poor appetite, right? Like, we work with most women come to us and they don't really eat. They are calorie deficient. So they don't have energy. They don't have proper digestion flowing through their body. They could be irritable. They do have, we work with women mostly between 40 and 60. We have outliers on either side, but, we're looking at menopausal hot flashes. We're looking at osteoporosis, arthritis, etc. Right? So these could be just about anything. So then a pill is prescribed, but these symptoms could be just about anything, right? So that's my concern. You would probably need something a bit more accurate. But then, regardless of what is prescribed, we have to look at our lifestyle and the steps that we're taking. So there's blood tests for a lot of things. Sounds good, Carrie. There's blood tests for a lot of things, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be blood tested. You actually should be, in my opinion. The problem is that you could look at magnesium blood tests, and they're not very accurate for a number of different reasons. So I would be concerned how accurate iron level testing is. But that's not to say you shouldn't do it. I feel like the more research and the more knowledge that you have around a subject would definitely be beneficial. So when you're looking at the supplementation of the iron or the prescriptions of the iron, I'd be very curious to know, or if I were you, I'd be very curious to know what other ingredients are in there and how absorbable they are. And then on top of that, most of those iron supplements, that I've researched cause upset stomach, nausea. Has anyone actually experienced that? Have taken an iron supplement or prescription or whatever that looks like for you, whatever you've tried and have given you an upset stomach? Or then we look at, there's more issues, right? So the more we mask, so I would say that because you may be iron deficient, or it may not be iron, it could be a number of other things, but you're taking a pill to mask those types of symptoms, right? And it may not be that. So then you're running into other issues, and then there's more, often you're prescribed more and more to mask the side effects, or that prescription alone isn't addressing the main concern. So it's not healing, and certainly not healing or fixing. It's just covering. It's more like a Band-Aid, right? So, okay, let's move on from that. The next one here I want to talk about is foods. So there's many different foods that we could consume that are higher in iron. So you may consider consuming I feel like people get upset when I talk about their doctors. That's not my intention. My intention is to share a different light, because in most cases we get conventional information, or we get conventional suggestions. So I feel like there's other ways, and there's more ways to skin a cat, I guess, than just one. That's the information that I've found. I'm sure you can find more accuracy depending on where you're going. I just think it's, you put all your eggs in one basket when it's just like, okay, this is what my blood levels say. And then it's not, in many cases, I feel it's not looking at lifestyle, food, exercise, nutrition, stress levels. You're looking at one avenue for a solution. So that's my concern when it comes to, if it's just blood testing alone, I feel like we have to look at other areas that could be helpful. So I'll just run through a handful of these. So these are, okay, this is interesting here. So when you look at top foods, I'll give you my list. These are top foods that I found on many different websites, and it's oysters, mussels, turkey eggs, bison, duck eggs, beef. So beef is usually at the top of the list. And you can look at canned sardines and crab. Okay. So those are a number of different, and then I guess we have oysters here, mussels, sardines, crabs. So a lot of people we found a lot of people in Alberta don't really like seafood. Right. So it's interesting, because we work with people all across, from all over. But if you look at people from Alberta, many don't like seafood. And then you look at those on the east coast of Canada, and they're much more open to eating seafood. Right, because it's our environment where we grew up, right? So I think that's definitely interesting, because we make meal plans for our clients and for our members, and they're like, and a lot of people from Alberta, and I had no idea how many people from Alberta don't like food or seafood, or maybe more. It's definitely more apparent, or more. How can you say this politically correct? They are more susceptible to having an allergy to seafood in Alberta. I'm not saying you don't have allergies to shellfish or seafood or whatever it is. I'm just saying you see it much more here than you do on the East Coast. They seem to be a bit more open-minded about seafood. But at any rate, you have to look at this list, for example, and then consider, are you consuming seafood at all? Are you consuming enough seafood? And then you could look at meats, right? Some people, like you looking at vegan or vegetarian, that don't eat a lot of meat. So bison, beef has a lot of iron that we're talking about. I think most of us heard that. Liver. I feel like in most cases, I'm the silent majority, but in this case, I feel like most people don't like liver. But we have a friend up here, Dylan and Anna. They own White Castle Steakhouse, and they have a few different locations, but there's one in Sylvan. Maybe it wasn't Sylvan. I think it was with Panoka, and he said that they serve, one of their best-selling meals is liver and onion. Who likes liver and onions? Okay, so high levels of iron in liver and onions, right? So you can look at other avenues. So in my opinion, these different food sources are much more absorbable to your body. So you could look at this list is a generic list, like nuts and seeds, dry fruit, wholemeal pasta, legumes, chickpeas, dark leafy greens, broccoli. Here's the thing, is that when we start working with people, that's why I'm talking about they're calorie deficient. They don't eat enough throughout the day. Usually it's maybe a light breakfast, probably not. usually like a snack. They're getting the kids ready for school, or the grandkids, or taking care of their spouse, as like most women as are caregivers. They pick at a little bit of food if they eat anything at all. Then they have a snack, maybe 10, 11 o'clock snack, not really a full meal. And then you're looking at a late lunch, 1 o'clock lunch, and then a huge supper meal, and then snacking in the evening. So that's where they hit the pantry and you're calorie deprived or calorie deficient. So you're hungry, you're craving those sugars and those sweets. So then that's when we hit that pantry, and we're much more less mobile. We're not moving around. We're not doing much. We're sedentary. So you're not able to burn any of that off. So that's what we see. And that's why I talk about a balanced diet of getting these foods in that are highly absorbable. So you're making sure that you have iron, like whether it's iron levels or B levels or vitamin C levels, wherever it's at. That's important for you to understand. Like when you are not eating the foods that you should be eating throughout the day, you are depriving yourself of minerals and nutrients as well that your body needs to function at a high level. Okay, I want to talk about vitamin C. So vitamin C, in every research page that I looked at, you look at vitamin C, and that can help improve the absorbability of your iron levels. So whatever you're consuming, whether that be a pill, pharmaceutical, or you could look at foods coming from food sources. So some of these I mentioned, maybe seafood, I think are usually higher. And then you can look at your nuts and seeds, dry fruit, etc. Right? If you're eating those foods with a proper vitamin C supplement, or you have high vitamin C foods, then you have more absorbability with the iron. So another problem that I see with just supplementation or just prescription is that your vitamin C levels are probably not high enough to get the full absorbability scale from whatever you're supplementing with. So it would be, and that comes like, and I feel like we should always be fully, like we should always have high vitamin C levels, not just once in a while, not just through supplementation. And there's a number of different ways you can do that. For example, like you have vitamin C, okay, we have oranges, right? I don't know how oranges got that name, but oranges, everyone knows or thinks high levels of vitamin C, right? So you can add more oranges to your diet. You could also look at strawberries, very high in vitamin C. You could look at bell peppers, again, very high in vitamin C. And then you could level up. You could look at something like camu, which has the highest levels of vitamin C, I think, possible. So that's something to pay attention to and understand that wherever if you are low in iron, you're probably low in vitamin C. You're probably not taking enough throughout the day if you're taking any at all. So that could be through natural foods, like I just mentioned, or supplementation. So if you're looking at supplementation, you could look at ascorbic acid. So there's absorbic acid, ascorbic acid. Most of the vitamin C supplements that you're taking are from ascorbic acid. That is usually corn derived. Now you can find them derived from like citrus types of fruits. Like you could look at, what is it? Citric acid. Like, right, that is derived from citric fruits, citric acid. Right. So then you look at your ascorbic acid, mostly corn derived. So probably not the best source in my opinion. But if you level up, you could look at something like, in my opinion, which is what we take. We take a camu capsule. We used to take a powder, throw it in shakes or smoothies. We found a capsule to be a bit easier. So we take that capsule to improve our immune system, also to increase the absorbability of whatever iron that we may be taking.
One of the things I would like to ask of you guys is that some of you know that I don't run ads on this show and don't plan on in the immediate future. So the only ask I have for you is that you help us spread the word so we can help more women burn body fat, increase energy, and balance their hormones. And the only way that we can do that is if you can rate and review this podcast. So the single thing that I could have you do or could ask of you is to leave a review. It'll take 5 minutes or one swipe of the thumb. It would mean the absolute world to me. And more importantly, you could change the world for someone else. As many of you know, there's plenty of women that struggle in this age group for balancing hormones, increasing energy, and burning body fat. So if you could help spread the word, that would make a big difference in our life and probably someone else's as well.
So hopefully that gives you some idea of what you should be doing throughout your lifestyle and everyday life, and then consuming different avenues of high iron foods, not just one, not just supplement or prescription. And I'm going to talk about my list here in a second. Well, right now. Okay, so when it comes to high iron types of foods, I have a few on my list that we focus on a regular basis. So I'll talk about spirulina in a second. That's number one at the top of the list. And if you do any spirulina research, research, it always talks about the iron levels, which is why it's so interesting to me when you look at the main, like you look at the main search engine, and then you look at like the top 5 to 10 articles, and why isn't spirulina in there? It seems like that's what I was talking about earlier. It all seems like it's very copy and pasted. So it takes a bit more time and effort to be like, what's really going on, and what other avenues can I do to improve my health in general, or more specifically, iron levels. So spirulina is at the top of my list. I'll explain that in a second. Then I would look at organic blackstrap molasses. That's super important. That's been around forever. I feel like our grandparents were using that in their baking or daily life in a number of different ways. Spinach is at the top of my list as well. And I thought there was another one. But those are my top 3 that I would suggest consuming on a regular basis to help increase your iron levels. And then on top of that, increasing your vitamin C levels to make sure that you can absorb properly, right? I feel like in most cases, we could have a high enough iron, levels if, dark chocolate just hit me. Dark chocolate would be my 4th top foods to increase your iron levels. But what I was saying is I feel like we could have enough iron levels if our absorbability through vitamin C was higher. And then on top of that, if the types of iron that we were taking were better quality. Okay. Does dairy do anything if consumed with iron? Dairy, Karina, you're making my life difficult. No, I'm just kidding. Calcium is challenging. Calcium's a tough one. In many cases, from what I've found, yay for dark chocolate. In many cases, from what I've found through research, is that calcium acts more like a blocker or an inhibitor. And I didn't talk about inhibitors too much, but okay, let me come back to that. Calcium, if you combine magnesium and calcium together, there's only so much absorbability at one time, right? Like we have stores in our body and we have pores, let's say, and your body can only absorb so much. And calcium, for whatever reason, I don't know the scientific reasoning, but the calcium wins out for the absorbability, right? So you have the magnesium and the calcium in there together. Well, the calcium is stronger, so you get much more calcium and very little, if any, magnesium. So when you see those, when people are like, just get a calcium magnesium pill and don't think about it. Well, you're not getting the magnesium you think you're getting. And I found the same research through iron levels as well. So the problem is a lot of people supplement. You could probably tell, not a big fan of going the supplement route with iron. Don't stop taking your iron. Go talk to your doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you not to. I'm just saying for these reasons I'm listing, I'm not a huge fan. On top of that, you're looking at an inhibitor that calcium seems to be. So you take a calcium pill often, and then you're taking your iron or you're taking your magnesium or whatever it may be, and your body's not fully absorbing whatever you think it is, right? That's also reason why I think that like those recommend daily allowances, who recommends that? Probably the government somewhere. And every single person is different, right? So maybe it's a rough overview, you could say, but you have people that are so like, I need to have this much. This is the recommended daily allowance. But every body is different. Like everyone absorbs differently. You have different lifestyles. In this case, different vitamin C levels. You're getting your iron sources from different areas. So there's better quality. So some quality is going to win out. Some is going to be more absorbable because at least the top 4 that I mentioned, those are going to be much more absorbable than some of the ones I mentioned earlier, right? So you're saying, someone might say, I'm getting all of my iron sources from very low quality, and this is the recommended daily allowance, but their absorbability is this much. And then you look at better quality types of sources of iron, and maybe that might be less. Maybe they're having less of those, but their absorbability is much higher, so their body is absorbing more, so their iron levels are higher, right? So I hope that was helpful. We're conditioned, right? We're conditioned human beings. We repeat the same things our teachers taught us 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? We have the same beliefs as our parents, even though our parents may and I'm not saying it's because of your parents. I'm saying it's because we were taught it at a very young age and we've repeated it in our mind over and over again. So you say things like, maybe do some research after your doctor recommends something, and people get very upset because there's been so conditioned over the years that listen to exactly what your doctor said. Don't question anything. I feel like we should question everything. It's the same thing as the news. When I tell people the news doesn't seem very positive to me, that seems like common sense to me, but people get very upset about that. So I'm okay sharing my opinion, and this is the platform I've developed. So I understand if people don't necessarily want to hear what I have to say or don't want to believe or absorb. some of the information I'm sharing when it comes to that conventional mindset of like, this is the way I've always done it. This is the way I was told to do it. So you should keep doing it this way, whether it makes sense or not. One of the things I wanted to mention was inhibitors, which could be vitamin, which could be calcium, but you could also look at coffee. So I read some research that I think they're called tannins that are inhibitors in caffeine in particular that block iron absorbability. And this is the same. So again, people get upset when I talk about coffee and how it may not necessarily be a health food. So for example, coffee strips magnesium from your body, right? People don't want to hear that. So then I hear like fluoride is binding. So if you're having fluoride toothpaste or drinking fluoride water and you're taking a magnesium supplement and you think you're getting enough magnesium, you're recommending daily allowance, but you're not looking at other avenues and you're not absorbing properly, that's why. And it's the same difference if you look at your iron levels, for example, and you are a regular coffee drinker and people are like, then you have people that are very like firm, like, don't tell me anything bad about my coffee. I'm not going to stop drinking it. That's what I do, which is fine. It's not my job or it's not my place to be like, stop doing that. I'm just presenting information that there's very clear studies that have shown coffee and some teas prevent iron to be absorbable. So if you are especially anemic or if you're especially low iron levels, then you may consider reducing or not drinking coffee, right? Just makes sense to me. But then, like I talked about before with the news and the doctors, it's like, this is what I always do. Don't tell me anything different, right? So that's a little bit more difficult to share that information when I know a good part of people watching, or part of the general population, I should say, aren't necessarily interested in hearing that information. So I'll tell you real quick. Dorothy and I were, this was a few years ago. On a personal note, Dorothy and I were looking at having a wonderful bundle of joy that would lighten up our life every day. Now he's a two-year-old monster. Natalie said, maybe you already said it, but why do we take magnesium in the morning versus at night? Reverse osmosis water that has not had minerals added back also strips magnesium from your eyes and calcium from your bones. Thanks for sharing that. I'll talk about magnesium in another one, but just real quick, magnesium I suggest magnesium in the morning because of the other benefits, because it gives you energy, helps with digestion, and it's not necessarily, magnesium is different. Like you don't take a magnesium at Imagine Iron. We're much more versed in magnesium. We've been into that for years. Iron is a little bit different, but at any rate, I'd imagine iron is very similar. Like you build up these stores in your body. So it's not like I take magnesium and I'm sleepy. It takes me, so it helps me sleep. That's not how it works. People just think that, like we think that, I take magnesium in the evening, makes me sleepier, I sleep better. That's not how it works. You slowly build up the stores in your body. So the longer you take magnesium, the proper quality and the proper dosages, as you move up, you can increase. You get more benefits out of that particular mineral. So it's a little bit different than just it's different than a pharmaceutical antibiotic. Advil, you take it and your headache goes away. Take it, your pain goes away. That's not what natural supplements do. You have to slowly build up, which is why we recommend starting off with a half a teaspoon and then building up to a teaspoon and a half to a tablespoon, depending on where you're at. So I feel like you get more benefits throughout the day because it's longer term than just like acute, I taking this and I'm sleepy. Hopefully that's helpful. So we were looking at getting pregnant and Dorothy went and got her levels checked and her iron levels were low and they always seem to be low. We went the midwife route. So we went to the midwife, checked her blood work, iron levels, very low. We're looking at different avenues of natural sources of vitamins, minerals. That's what we do. And we found spirulina. And this is one of the main reasons we got into it. Started taking it ourselves and then brought it to market and started selling it to our customers, is that Dorothy's iron levels, we took it, she was taking, and this is, still feel like this is a short amount of time. She took it for I think we were gone for 3 months. So she started taking it at the beginning of summer. Beginning of summer, she got her blood levels tested, low iron. We were taking spirulina 2-3 times a day throughout the summer because we wanted to experiment everything on our own body before we bring that to market. She got back end of September, got her blood levels checked again, and the midwife was blown away. way. She had to do the testing again. She's like, oh, let me check again. I don't know if that was accurate. Her iron levels were through the roof. And the only thing that we could put our finger on that was made a significant difference was the increase in spirulina. So that's our experience. That's why we believe in it. So spirulina, if you're not sure what it is, it's a blue-green algae. It's grown in fresh water, which is different than the sea or ocean. So the oceans are polluted, right? We know that. That's why we recommend if you're eating seafood, you take chlorella because it's detoxing, right? Because the fish consume hard metals. When we consume the fish, we take on those hard metals, and then if we don't detox properly, that slowly builds up. In my opinion, that turns into a dis-ease in our body. So we're looking at spirulina in a number of different areas. So spirulina, one single ingredient grown in fresh water. Ours is organic, and it's so absorbable. It's a food. It's not a supplement. So it's very bioavailable. Your body can digest and absorb all of it. Different than chemical-based like protein supplements and other avenues that are difficult for our body to absorb and to consume. So that's something that we recommend. We don't take a multivitamin. I don't necessarily believe in multivitamins for a number of different reasons, but spirulina has over 40 vitamins and minerals. For cup, it has more protein than steak, than a red meat. It's high in iron, a very absorbable iron. It also has some omegas in there, so it has healthy fats in there. And it's not like there's no caffeine, there's no dairy, there's no sugar, none of that stuff that a lot of people use to supplement to help wake them up. So we recommend spirulina in the morning, first thing. So we recommend that our clients take a liquid magnesium in the morning. And then we have a couple other things in there that I previously mentioned, along with spirulina tabs. So we take 5 spirulina tabs twice a day, so 10. You can start off with 3 to 5 if you want. But in my opinion, that's the best way to increase your iron levels naturally without any other nonsense that may be apparent. So I hope, did Dorothy continue to take? Yes, Dorothy took them throughout pregnancy. Yeah, we didn't take anything. She didn't take anything that wasn't safe to take during pregnancy. And to be honest, most of that stuff, I'm trying to think. We have a list. If anyone wants that list, we could send it to you. But we got pregnant really quick, and we're not 20 years old. We're a little bit older, and I know that there's complications for a number of different reasons. Trying to get pregnant as you get a little bit older, and we didn't have any issues at all. But I think that has to do. There's a number of different issues, but I feel like that has to do with proper vitamin levels, the health of the body that baby is growing in. She's super healthy. So there's a lot. That's probably for another topic, but that was our experience, and that was very clear for us that that's something that we should be consuming on a regular basis, and that's what we do. We take spirulina every single day, along with chlorella for a different topic, and then we take a number of other supplements and vitamins. But again, that goes back to your lifestyle and what you're consuming, and what that looks like. So hopefully that's helpful. And I want to let you go. So I'm out of here. Thank you so much for joining live. Hopefully the show helped. Have a great day, everyone, and we will see you soon.